Good morning, good afternoon, or good evening. Whatever time it is when you hear this message, I pray that you're poised to receive, to accept, and to respond to words of wisdom. Ashe. You know, it's not so much what we say as much as it is what we do. And more importantly than the big things that we might do from time to time, it's the little things that we do on a consistent basis that really define our contribution to the world. And so over the years and really the decades, I have dedicated my life to doing little things that would support and amplify the presence of Orisha Lifestyle in my community. Going back as far as maybe 1999, 2000, I started publishing a newsletter and, typing it up, photocopying it, putting it in the mail, and sending it out across the country on my own dime. I did this just because I wanted people to know. So this is before the advent of internet as we know it today, and long before the smartphone and social media. So this was a time when you still had to go and sit with someone in their living room in order to talk about the Orisha tradition. So the next best thing was to put the newsletter in the mail and send it to people directly. And I did that. Moving on to teaching school-age children. And so I created an after-school program called The Beehive, where we did 7 musicals a year, all based on the sacred text of Ifa. And I did that, I think, maybe from the year 2000 to 2003, something like that. But we put on 7 musicals per year, and I introduced the culture to school-age children in Oakland, California that way. And that followed that up with Camp Iwalewa, which was a fantastic arts and outdoor education program, also for school-age children in Oakland. And I introduced them to more of the folklore, but also the nature, right? The flora and the fauna and our relationship to the living environment, to introduce the children to Orisha as, a principle of sustainable living. And from then, I went on to proliferate the philosophy and the teachings of Ifa in a corporate environment. I worked as a trainer for a number of years, and that was all about sustainability. So I was a sustainability trainer in corporate America, Fortune 100 corporations more specifically. And I went all over the country, all over North America, including Canada, delivering workshops and teaching people to understand the principles of life and of nature and sustainable culture on a personal level, and creating mechanisms whereby individuals could bring all of themselves, all of their values, all of their most cherished beliefs, and connect them to the living environment and express those at work, right? And so I did that, and it essentially was just translating the principles of Ifa, the principles of Orisha, into a work environment. So I loved it. It was a wonderful opportunity for me. Really, that was a transformative experience for me because it allowed me to see the ways in which the things that we know and take for granted as Orisha devotees are really applicable to solving the big problems of the world. We just need to put ourselves into the conversation and share what we know in a responsible way. Responsible meaning in a way that's geared towards solving problems. And so I got a lot out of that experience in corporate America. From then, I went back into community-based education, and I taught in Ilom, which is Oakland, California's premier independent Black institution. And so there, my primary role was teaching Spanish language, which I did from an African center perspective, right? So I taught Latin American, pretty much, Cuban, Puerto Rican, Dominican, Venezuelan, Afro-Mexican, Afro-Ecuadorian culture, folklore, to the school-age children, in addition to teaching them just straight ahead grammar, vocabulary, etc. But in that capacity, I introduced a considerable amount of the philosophy and the values of Orisha Lifestyle, right? And from there, I went on to establish different aspects of the Orisha Lifestyle Academy, which included creating a personal priesthood certification, and most recently, the School of Orisha Studies. In the midst of all of that, I published 10 books, all on Orisha Lifestyle, different aspects of the tradition, different aspects of the practice, all of which has been orientated towards one thing, though, really helping to recapture and restore original African thought, to help our people get in touch with who we were before we were tainted, right? Before we were exposed to colonial pollutants, so to speak. And this is in keeping with, my own practice as an Aatala devotee. We know that Aatala is the one who goes to the river at dawn. This is one of the practices of Aatala. Aatala goes to the river at dawn to fetch water without speaking. And this water is pristine. It has been undisturbed. And so it is imbued with specific kinds of healing powers that Aatala takes into his shrine and then amplifies those powers and uses them to heal people. In addition to it being a practice, it's also a metaphor for what an Aatala priest or priestess should do, which is to revisit our original thought, right? This is in keeping with Aatala's role in the pantheon. When you are in the prenatal state, when your soul is in the prenatal state and you're coming to the world and you choose your destiny, you go before Aatala. And so in your raw, pristine state, before you enter into the river of life, right? There's a blue river and the red river. Before you enter that river, you go before Aatala and you choose your destiny. And Aatala sanctions your destiny. Whatever you choose is what he affirms for you. And so it makes sense that an Aatala priest or priestess would fetch water at dawn and use that water to restore. And so that has been the nature of my work. In all of the different facets that I described to you before, fundamentally what I'm aspiring to do is restore original African thought, to restore the original African mind, to enable you as an individual to revisit your original thought and your original impulse, your original intention for coming into the world. And so with that in mind, my work most recently in the School of Orisha Studies has brought me to a place of establishing the best practices and disciplines associated with our tradition so that people can practice Orisha lifestyle in a way that will deliberately and consistently enable you to come in contact with your deep and original soul consciousness. And so most recently, just last week, in fact, I went back to Nigeria, to Abéòkúta, where the elders in the kingdom of Okeona in Abéòkúta bestowed a title upon me. And that title is the Alatunse Onifa of Okeona, Abéòkúta, in Ogun State, Nigeria. And the Alatunse is the reformer. The Alatunse is the one who restores. The Alatunse is the one who rekindles and rebuilds. And so my work, my life's work, has been honored and encapsulated into this particular title. And so I'm honored and I'm very pleased to have been recognized by the elders of Okeona in this regard. And I'm excited about the next phase of work that has opened up as a result. And so I started the process of acquiring property, and we're going to sign off on everything and start building in the next few days. And this is for us to establish the Abéòkúta campus of the Orisha Lifestyle Academy. And the Abéòkúta campus will begin with two primary functions. One will be Yoruba language. So we want to help our people, our students, to recover Yoruba language, because language is what organizes thought. So when we talk about restoring the original African mind, language is integral to that, because language is what organizes thought. If you think about your experience, we can theorize that all human experience is universal. It's the same, just like the spirit is universal. But the way you experience that and articulate that and share it with other people is expressed through language. And so your language is what is going to organize your experience. Your language is what is going to create a certain, template for how your experience is activated, right? Language activates experience as well. So we need to be able to access a process of thinking and understanding and interpreting our reality that is indigenous. And so that's what we're one dimension of the Orisha Lifestyle Academy in Abéòkúta. The second dimension is going to be around service learning, because what we want is for our people to be able to use their natural gifts and talents in a way that is geared towards service, right? Because we know that what you do for yourself will die with you, but what you do for others will live on forever. And nobody's getting out of here alive. So given the fact that we're all going to meet with the same end, which is ultimately death, we need to think about how we're going to live in such a way that will promote our highest blessing. The highest blessing that Ifa tells us of is Iriaiku. Aiku is immortality. And how do you live forever? You live forever through your legacy. So service learning is about contributing to our legacy, individually and collectively. So those are the two main areas of activity that the Abéòkúta campus is going to feed. And so that work is, like I said, is in motion. It's going to start. And I want to invite you to participate in that process by, at the very least, being a contributor to our efforts. Now is the time for us to start the building process. And to do that, we need dollars. And so if 30 people offer $1,000, we'll have all the money we need to have the building complete in less than a year, right? And so I want to appeal to you to make your contribution. Reach out to people who you know who can also make contributions, and help us to create a living legacy that will survive deep into the future, and ensure that as long as we are here, original African thought will survive and will thrive through Orisha Lifestyle. Click on the link below and be a part of this wonderful, wonderful, and noble project. I look forward to working with you all. Bye for now. Odabo.